Frigid cold night and a pandemic, I bet.
Shabbat Shalom. Shabbat Shalom. All right. Thanks, Ray.
Ready? I don't know. Why do I only have half an orchestra? I don't know about that. Oh, that's right. You ever write back? Yeah, yeah. Back there, but you like Ron and I were talking. You straddle the line between like probably not getting paid much. No?
Test, test. Thank you.
Would like It's like the lawyer. Like, why? Well, yeah, and you had, I mean, you had an account dollars for years without them knowing. So, to your point, I think you could be onto something, right?
Ya la 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 la. Ya la 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 la. Ya la 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 la. Ya la 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 la. Ya la 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 la. Ya la 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 la. Ya la 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 la. Ya la 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 la. Ya 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 la ya la la ya la. Ya la 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 la. Ya la 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 la. Ya la 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 la. Ya la ya la la ya la. Ya la 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 ya la la la. Ya la 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 ya la 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 la. Ya la 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 ya la la la. Ya la 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 ya la la la. Ya la 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 ya la la la. Ya la 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 ya la 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 la. Ya la 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 ya la la la. Ya la 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 ya la la la. Ya la 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 la. Ya la 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 la. Ya la 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 la. Ya la ya la la ya la. Ya la 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 la. Ya la 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 la. Ya la 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 la. Ya la ya la la ya la.
On behalf of Cantor Hyman and Rabbi Friedman and our president, Hank Bernstein, Shabbat Shalom. For some, to be here is an act of courage. For some, it is an act of joy. For some, it is an act of gratitude. For me, I think it's a little of all three. It's so good to be with all of you, whether on site or online, gathering for Shabbat in this sanctuary. Let's take this moment to be sure we are among community. Please take a moment to introduce yourself in the comments or get up and find someone in the sanctuary you don't yet know to say Shabbat Shalom. I'm so pleased to welcome Leonard and Alice Sales to kindle our Shabbat lights, page 2.
Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu melech haolam, asher kidshanu b'mitzvotav, v'tzivanu lehadlik ner shel Shabbat.
Our Shabbat Kiddush is on page 5.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam borei peri hagafen. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher kidshanu b'mitzvotav v'ratzavanu v'shabbat kodsho be'ahava u'v'ratzon hinchilanu zikaron lema'aseh v'reishit ki hu yom techila lemikra'ei kodesh zeicher letziat Mitzrayim ki vanu vacharta ve'otanu kidashta mikol ha'amim v'shabbat kodshecha be'ahava u'v'ratzon hinachaltanu Baruch atah Adonai mekadesh haShabbat l'chaim.
It's very cool when you see the students who were B'nai Mitzvah last Shabbat come back this Shabbat. It's like my Shabbat can't get any better. We were all there. This week's Torah portion, Yitro, teaches when Torah was revealed on Mount Sinai across time and space. We were all there. I delight when our friend Ben-Sion Friedman, when representing the Board of Advisors at B'nai Mitzvah Services, says to the students that he is meeting for the first time, "You know, we've met before. We've met at Sinai. We were all there." In the scene of Revelation, the thunder and the lightning, it is intensely scary. Could tradition be teaching us when things are intensely scary, be there together, online or in person, I'm sure is what the Torah meant. Be there together. We were all there. This week, since Colleyville, I have been thinking about things that are intensely scary and what it means to be all there together. To be there in comfort and to be there in solidarity, yes. To stand proudly as Jews, unafraid, yes. But also to be there together, to be here together, to keep our eye on the ball, to keep each other accountable to Torah, to guard against letting ourselves off the hook, to protect Torah and ourselves from allowing fear of danger to turn into fear of the other, to rededicate ourselves to Torah, always ready to open the door. At Sinai, we were all there, in Colleyville, we were all there. This Shabbat, I am grateful we are all here. We welcome the angels of Shabbat with the singing of Shalom Aleichem in Kabbalat Shabbat on page 24. And to bring us more energy in our singing, if you're able, please rise.
One small variation. We ask the angels to bless us with peace, come unto us with peace, bless us in peace. And then the last verse says, Tseitechem l'shalom, go out in peace. I'm going to ask that we change the first word of that verse to shuvachem, return to us in peace. Shalom Aleichem, Shalom Aleichem, Malachei Hasharim, Malachei Elyon, Mi Melech, Malachei Hamlachim, HaKadosh, HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Boachem Neshalom, Malachei HaShalom, Malachei Elyon, Mi Melech Malachei Hamelachim, HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Shalom Aleichem, Shalom Aleichem, Malachei Hasharet, Malachei Elyon, Mi Melech, Malachei Hamlachim, HaKadosh, HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Barechuni l'shalom, Malachei HaShalom, Malachei Elyon, Mi Melech, Malachei Hamelachim, HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Shalom Aleichem, Shalom Aleichem, Malachei Hasharet, Malachei Elyon, Mi Melech, Malachei Hamlachim, HaKadosh, HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Shuvachem, Shuvachem l'shalom, Malachei HaShalom, Malachei Elyon, Mi Melech, Malachei Hamelachim, HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Shalom Aleichem, Shalom Aleichem, Malachei Hasharet, Malachei Elyon, Mi Melech, Malachei Hamlachim, HaKadosh, HaKadosh Baruch Hu.
Gathering all of our joy to bring in the Shabbat bride, we turn to pages 20 and 21 for Lecha Dodi.
Lecha Dodi, לקראת כלה, בני שבת נקבלה. Lecha Dodi, לקראת כלה, בני שבת נקבלה. שמור וזכור בדיבור אחד, השמיע הגיענו אל המיוחד, אדוני אחד ושמו אחד, לשם ולתפארת ולתחילה. לך דודי לקראת כלה, בני שבת נקבלה. לך דודי לקראת כלה, בני שבת נקבלה. לקראת שבת לכו ונלכה, כי מקור הברכה מראש מקדם נסוכה. סוף מעשה במחשבה תחילה. לך דודי לקראת כלה, בני שבת נקבלה. לך דודי לקראת כלה, בני שבת נקבלה. התעוררי, התעוררי, כי באורך קומי אורי. אורי אורי שיר דברי, כבוד אדוני עלייך נגלה. לך דודי לקראת כלה, בני שבת נקבלה. לך דודי לקראת כלה, בני שבת נקבלה. בואי בשלום עצרת בעלה, גם בשמחה ובצהלה, תוך אמוני עם סגולה. בואי חלה, בואי חלה. לך דודי לקראת כלה, בני שבת נקבלה. לך דודי לקראת כלה, בני שבת נקבלה. לך דודי לקראת כלה, בני שבת נקבלה. לך דודי לקראת כלה, בני שבת נקבלה.
Turning to page 28, we continue with our call to worship.
Am I awake? Am I prepared? Are you listening to my prayer? Can you hear my voice? Do you understand? Am I awake? Am I prepared? Ya la 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 la, 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 ya la 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 la. Barechu et Adonai HaMevorach. Baruch Adonai HaMevorach Le'olam va'ed, Le'olam va'ed. Ya la 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 la, 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 ya la 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 la.
These are adapted words from Rabbi Naomi Levy. God, I long to feel your presence not just this day, but every day. I do not pretend to know your ways, to know why this world you created can be so beautiful, so magnificent, and yet so harsh, so ugly, and so full of hate. I want to know why the innocent must suffer, why life is so full of grief. There are times when to think of you brings struggle. Watch over me and my loved ones. Forgive me for all that I have not been. Help me to appreciate all that I have and to realize all that I have to offer. Help me to find my way to you so that I may never feel alone. We continue with Shema, page 34.
Yisrael Adonai Eloheinu Adonai Echad Baruch Shem Kevod Malchuto Le'olam Va'ed.
Please be seated. Page 37. Together. Love your God with every heartbeat, with every breath, with every conscious act. Keep in mind the words I command you today. Teach them to your children. Talk about them at work, whether you are tired or you are rested. Let them guide the work of your hands. Keep them in the forefront of your vision. Do not leave them at the doorway of your house or outside your gate. They are reminders to do all of my mitzvot so that you can be holy for God. I am Adonai, your God. I led you out of Egypt to become your God. I am Adonai, your God. Words of Amanda Gorman from this week's New York Times, where she writes about liberation and how scary it was to put her safety at risk as a Black woman exposed to the world. I still am terrified every day, yet fear can be love trying its best in the dark. So do not fear your fear. Own it. Free it. Why? The truth is, hope isn't a promise we give. It's a promise we live. Page 40.
מי כמוך באלים אדוני מי כמוך נהדר בקודש נורא צילו עושה פלא מי כמוך באלים אדוני מי כמוך באלים אדוני מי כמוך נהדר בקודש נורא תהילות עושה פלא מי כמוך באלים אדוני מלכותך ראו בניך בוקע ים לפני משה ומרים זה אלי ענו ואמרו זה אלי ענו ואמרו אדוני ימלוך לעולם ועד na'im loch le'olam va'ed. Mi chamocha ba'elim Adonai. Mi chamocha ba'elim Adonai.
Page 43.
Let there be love and understanding among us. Let peace and friendship be our shelter from life's storms. That phrase will repeat itself a few times. Let there be love and understanding among us. Let peace and friendship be our shelter from life's storms. Let there be love and understanding among us. Let peace and friendship be our shelter from life's storms. Hashkiveinu, Adonai Eloheinu. Hashkiveinu, L'shalom. Hashkiveinu, Adonai Eloheinu. Hashkiveinu, L'shalom. V'ha'amideinu, V'ha'amideinu, Shomreinu lechaim. Ufros aleinu, Sukat shlomecha. Hashkiveinu, Adonai Eloheinu. Hashkiveinu, L'shalom. Let there be love and understanding among us. Let peace and friendship be our shelter from life's storms. Let there be love and understanding among us. Let peace and friendship be our shelter from life's storms.
We are a people in whom the past endures, in whom the present is inconceivable without moments gone by. The Exodus lasted a moment enduring forever. What happened once upon a time happens all the time. We continue with the Amidah on pages 46 and following. Please rise.
Ya la 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 la, 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 ya la 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 la. Adonai sefatai tiftach ufi yagid tehilatecha. Adonai, open up my lips that my mouth may declare your praise. Ya la 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 la, 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 ya la 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 la. Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu v'Elohei Avotenu v'Imotenu, Elohei Avraham, Elohei Yitzchak, v'Elohei Yaakov, Elohei Sarah, Elohei Rivka, Elohei Rachel, v'Elohei Leah, Ha'el Hagadol, Hagibor v'Hanora, El Elyon, Gomel Chasadim Tovim, Vekonei Hakol, Vezocher Chaste Avot Ve'imahot, Umevi Geula Livnei V'neihem, Lema'an Shema B'Yahava, Melech Ozer, Umoshia Umagen, Baruch atah Adonai, Magin Avraham ve'ezrat Sarah. Atah gibor leolam Adonai, mechaye hakol, atah rav lehoshia, mashiv haruach umorid hagashem. Mechalkel chaim bechesed, mechaye hakol berachamim rabim, somech noflim verofech olim, umatir asurim, umekayem emunato, lishenei afar, chamocha baal gevurot, Umido melach, melech memit, umechaye, umatzmiach Yeshua, v'ne'eman atah lachayot hakol. Baruch atah Adonai, mechaye hakol. Atah kadosh v'shimcha kadosh, u'kadoshim b'chol yom yihalalucha selah. Baruch atah Adonai ha'el hakadosh.
Please be seated. Words of Rabbi Charlie Citron Walker of Colleyville. When terrible things happen to me, well, I feel it, and that makes sense. But when terrible things happen to me and you feel it, that's compassion. And that's what enables us to see each other in spite of all our difference as human beings, as infinitely valuable, because every person and every world is infinitely valuable. That value that each person is deserving of, dignity and respect. Here's the thing, if we live that value, if we make it an integral part of our lives each and every day, we might have a lot more friends that we disagree with, a lot more friends that we don't see eye to eye with, but we'll have a lot less enemies. Living that value is where we can begin. We continue with moments of silent prayer.
Yiyu l'ratzon imrei fi. Yiyu l'ratzon imrei fi. V'hegion libi lefanecha. Adonai tzuri v'goali. Oh, may the words of my mouth, the meditations of my heart be acceptable before you, Adonai, my rock and my redeemer. Ose shalom bimromav, hu ya'aseh shalom aleinu, ve'al kol Yisrael, ve'imeru, amen.
In a moment, we will be on page 253 for the Misha Berach, our prayer for healing. As we take these moments for prayers of healing, we recognize the trauma in our community, in our entire Jewish community this week. But we also recognize our capacity to heal, to show up for each other, to be here, and to be active agents in our own healing. The words of Rabbi Charlie Citron Walker: "We are not helpless. We bring healing with Band-Aids and hugs, a cup of coffee and chicken soup. We are not helpless. We bring healing with a text, a call, a card, a response that says, 'You are not alone.' We are not helpless. We bring healing with acceptance, patience, and understanding for ourselves and others. We are not helpless. We bring healing with words of compassion and acts of compassion, reaching out with care and love. We are not helpless. We bring healing to heart and mind, body and soul. We bring healing every day. We are not helpless." If you are holding someone in your heart tonight in need of healing, I invite you to write their names in the chat or to speak their names aloud at this time.
Sheberach avoteinu mekor habracha leimoteinu. May the source of strength, who blessed the ones before us, help us find the courage to make our lives a blessing, and let us say, Amen. Mi sheberach imoteinu mekor habracha lavoteinu. Bless those in need of healing with refuah shlema, the renewal of body, the renewal of spirit, and let us say, Amen.
Jewish tradition teaches that after surviving a life-threatening situation, we say a prayer, the Birkat HaGomel, a blessing of gratitude, a blessing that says, "Thank you, God." This is our response in Judaism, to find moments of gratitude. And so we take time now in our service as we prepare to sing Shehechianu, our blessing of gratitude, to find those moments of goodness in our lives, as our Hebrew says, to hakarat hatov, to look for the good, to notice the good. And I know there is so much good in this world and in our own community. And I hope that everyone has at least one thing that they're thinking of this week, something wonderful in your lives. If you're joining us in the live stream, I hope you'll write into the comments or the chat some of those wonderful Shehechianu moments, those birthdays or anniversaries or other wonderful things. And I don't know if there's anything in the sanctuary. If anyone wants to shout one out, something good, we always need these, and I'll repeat it so we can all hear it. What do we got? Heshy's birthday, that's reason to celebrate. What else we got? Give me some more. We need this. Your 7th grandchild. This is amazing. What else? Who else has got something for me? What else? Adele? Oh, and your birthday, so wonderful. We got a couple bar mitzvah kids back. So wonderful. Abe and Charles, I love it. The planets, it's great to see you. I got my family here. I'm so thrilled. And the Maderer, Lipkins, and so many others. It is just, I give gratitude to be here in this sanctuary and online with all of you this Shabbat. And so for all of these blessings and so many more, we join together in Shehechianu.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam Shehecheyanu v'kiyemanu v'higi'anu lazman hazeh Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam Shehecheyanu v'kiyemanu v'higi'anu lazman hazeh. It has been nearly a week since the multiple major events we have shared collectively and personally, and I am tired. I'm thoughtful and I'm focused, but like many of my colleagues, I'm tired of being engaged in devoting so much time, energy, and resource into thinking about safety and security. I want to make clear a few things, both tonight and moving forward, and I'm grateful to this congregation and my fellow clergy that values my voice, whether singing or spoken, encouraging me to speak my truth. This is not okay. I am not okay. I'm working through many feelings and emotions, and while all of it is healthy and managed, it's also important to acknowledge that some of us may not be all right. And that, as the title of Mark Lerner's book suggests, it's okay not to be okay right now. It may take a bit more time than 1 week to adequately address our situation. But perhaps more important than anything right at this moment is to address how we are feeling and what is at the root of those feelings. The sooner we are able to address our emotions, the sooner we are able to plot out a course towards healing and to take actions that are driven by something other than fear, desperation, or a need to be active in something, anything that might take our minds off of that fear and desperation. Conversely, we should not let the effects of terrorism become commonplace or comfortable. Dr. Betsy Stone, a psychologist from Yale University who has a broad connection and teaches at Hebrew Union College, reminds us it is important for us to make space to be in pain. We know that fighting pain does not solve it and does not make it go away. It is immensely important to name and acknowledge how I feel, both for myself and for those who are around us. Feelings are temporary unless we ignore them. When we pretend we are not feeling the things we are feeling, it makes the feelings last longer. Dr. Stone continues by stating, our urge is to fill the time with solutions, and we may not be ready for that. Make time to give yourself a break. Be gentle with yourself. Being active may briefly make us feel better, but it might not be what is best. I will only say that I feel that our response as a team and a congregation has been appropriately reassuring, and it has been a reminder of how much is already considered and in motion to keep us all safe, and we're able to focus on more important ways we engage. For a list of all of the ways we're thinking about our security, make sure that you see Jeff Katz's statement that was linked in this week's Staying Connected. Last week, for nearly 11 hours, my colleague and fellow Michigander, Rabbi Charlie Citron Walker, was panim el panim, face to face with an individual who accepted the gifts of hospitality and oneg in rejoicing in Shabbat, and who had come with the self-professed intention to inflict harm not just to the rabbi, but to the entire Jewish community. While none of us in this room can know what the rabbi or the 4 other congregants must have been thinking or feeling, we can say for certain, as more of the details become available, that it was not easy in that moment to think outside of that room or what the future would hold beyond the hostage crisis. Before being taken offline, the interrupted service and phone conversations of a ranting terrorist could be heard across the country as worshipers were taking full advantage of the safety from praying remotely. The 44-year-old male, who is now known to have been a British national, was overheard on his phone, attempting to console the person on the other end of that line after declaring, "I am going to die, don't cry for me, man." There were other moments when the same man was overheard stating, "I'm sorry, I'm not going to shoot anyone, I'm the only one who has to die today." A bit later, one of the hostages suggested that they close the video stream, and the terrorist said, "No, let it go, let it go." This was the act of someone who wanted to gain as much publicity and attention towards attempting to release a prisoner currently serving an 86-year sentence in Texas federal prison. After all, if the Jews control everything, as the terrorists presumed, certainly they will control the federal prison system. More than 2 years after the attack at Eitz Chaim in Pittsburgh, and 6 months later in Poway, California, and 8 months after that in Muncie, New York, and then again in a New Jersey supermarket, Jews have been under attack. The old tropes that we are very familiar with, that Jews control the media, the banking, and wield incredible political and social influence, are still at play in the hearts and minds of those who would do us harm. Though at times it is easy to lose sight of the fact that we are a minority in this world, accounting for less than 2% of the United States. There are other times that remind us just how small and fragile our community is. For many institutions, the actions in Pittsburgh were a reminder that forevermore we need to be aware of the steps we are taking to prevent or minimize the effects from terrorist acts against us. In an ADL security briefing I attended yesterday, the organizers had echoed something that Rabbi Mader had mentioned to us just an hour prior, which was our need to seek security through solidarity. This is the idea that by uniting with other faith-based institutions, as we already do, we are reinforcing the need both planning together and to be present for each other when difficulties present themselves. For Rabbi Citron Walker and at least one other worshiper that morning, it was their level of preparedness and their calm awareness in a dangerous situation that kept them focused and able to prepare for what could have been their last moves towards release. It was also the swift response from neighboring churches and mosques that sent the comforting presence to the entire community. The nation was watching, and we noticed. Part of our coping skills is to adopt usage of the phrase, a new reality. If we stop and think about it, we are constantly stepping into new realities, and a need for Jews to be prepared and vigilant is actually a very, very old reality. After the atrocities of the Holocaust in Europe and Asia, and decades of chanting the words "never again," many of us believed those words as defiant promise that it could simply not happen. And yet, the signs that it is easier and easier for others to speak or act publicly against the rights and freedoms of Jews and Jewish institutions are becoming too great to dismiss as an acceptable part of this new reality. The congregation in Colleyville, Texas, is small to begin with, and the pandemic has forced their gathering in person to be smaller yet. There was no security personnel requested, and the general feeling held by leadership and congregants alike was that they felt both comfortable and safe. It is this feeling that I am very much interested in, because it is the same feeling that I believe most people are chasing these days. By no means did Rabbi Citron Walker or his congregants ignore the realities of our world. They had prepared and trained to some degree, understood the dangers, and yet prior to the events of last Saturday, they felt safe. And even after letting the man in, giving him tea, and listening to his story, Rabbi Citron Walker continued to feel comfortable all the way until the moment it became uncomfortable. And as stated in a recent Washington Post article, Pulitzer Prize-winning writer Robin Given writes, despite all the security training they sat through and everything that congregants knew about the heightened dangers of hate and ignorance, they still kept the faith and opened the synagogue door for the stranger who knocked. It was their deeply seated value of hachnasat orchim, of welcoming the stranger with all the compassion and hospitality of Abraham and Sarah, that opened their door. It was the same value recognized and shared by the attacker that perhaps softened his heart and enabled the earlier release of the eldest hostage. It was later revealed that this was a strategic move made by the hostages to send out the person who perhaps would not be able to run if running was a part of that exit. We are grateful none of the hostages were physically harmed, but we hope that the longer-lasting effects of terror do not infringe on the welcoming hearts of the Colleyville community. In the ADL security briefing held yesterday, Rabbi Citron Walker responded to a question about our fears of being outwardly Jewish, to wear or hide our Magen David or our kippot by stating, "It is said in the Talmud that in times of trouble or danger, we do not leave a menorah in the window." I do not believe that we are in that kind of trouble or danger. We need to do what we are comfortable with. But this is not a time for hiding who or what we are. It was important for Rabbi Citron Walker to also state that life continues in Texas for him, his family, and his congregation. He will be dropping his own kids off at religious school and will be prepared to see people at services if it is safe to do so with regards to COVID. We who are physically present are sitting in a magnificent, grand, historic, and important sanctuary surrounded by artwork and artifacts, stained glass, and wood. It is an awesome sight
and one deserving of mention. But perhaps more important and more deserving of recognition in moments such as these is the knowledge that it is the people who have sat here, past and present, and those yet to sit here in the future, who are what make us what is important and grand. And they will hopefully continue to be as open, as accepting, and steeped in values as Rabbi Charlie Citron Walker and the community of Colleyville, Texas. We can put up our arms and fold them as a barrier to keep others at a distance, or we can put them up in defense, or we can open them up and receive all the benefits that come from recognizing that the greater potential of good that comes from being recognized as a person or a place that is available. When I say to you, I am available, I want you to know that I truly mean it. Let me know how I can help. Shabbat Shalom.
We continue in our prayer book now on pages 282 and 287 for Aleinu. Please rise.
עלינו לשבח לאדון הכל, לתת גדולה ליוצר בראשית, שהוא נוטה שמיים ויוסד ארץ, ומושב יקרו בשמיים ממעל, ושכינת עוזו בגובהי מרומים, הוא אלוהינו אין עוד, ואנחנו קוראים ומשתחווים ומודים לפני מלך מלכי המלכים הקדוש ברוך הוא. ונאמר והיה אדוני למלך על כל הארץ ביום ההוא יהיה אדוני אחד ושמו אחד.
Please be seated. There are stars up above. So far away we only see their light, long, long after the star itself is gone. And so it is with people that we loved. Their memories keep shining ever brightly, though their time with us is done. But the stars that light up the darkest night, these are the lights that guide us. As we live our days, these are the ways we remember. This week, our congregation observes yahrzeit for Jane S. Abrahams, Herbert Barg, Barry Michael Barron, Claire Berkowitz, Helen Berkowitz, Elsa Block, Herman L. Bloom, Yetta Blumar, Celia Bowman, Isidore O. Brick, Enid Broder, Fred Brudno, Catherine M. Buxbaum, Ralph M. Sete, Blanche C. Daniels, Edwin J. Davis, Bertha Topkis DeLuca, Miriam Wolf Epstein, Matthew S. Erzner, Rachel Bucks Farbish, Samuel Fernberger, Bryson Flora, Ann Foster, William Friedman, Howard Friedman, Harry H. Goldberg, Doris Golden, Frida Gordon, Cary Grant, Joseph E. Gross, Joseph N. Grossman, Saul Gubernick, Mildred Goldman Gutman, Morris Handel, Fannie E. Harrison, Fannie Heltzer, Frederick R. Herman, Emily Hart Hess, Henry Hess, Maurice Joseph, Levi Nathan Kahn, Elaine Kaplan, Sylvia Carrott, Herbert Cates, Marcus Katz, Rose Cowett, Ruth Mendel Klaus, Jack Kessler, Nathan Kessler, Sarah Kessler, Devere Kostoff, Morton Lane, Rose Lassen, Esther W. Lefton, William A. Levy, Lydia Lavina, Jack Lieberman, Jane Lindsay, Norman L. Lorch, Jane M. McFarlane, Leonore J. Mayer, Morris Mezzi, Jacob Miller, Madge Marcus Nemmer, Jeffrey Nisman, Julius Panzer, Earl Perloff, Frank A. Fowler, Alan Pizzi, Ethel C. Polikoff, Harry M. Putzel, Robert Ressick, William L. Rosenbluth, Lee Roth, Sadie Jamison Rothman, Harold J. Rubin, Florence Rosenbaum Soblowski, Maurice Sales, Samuel Seldis, Philip A. Sellers, Harry Surfer, George Joseph Silverman, Roselia Jacob Simon, Sarah Swartz, Elizabeth Daroff Voice, Rose Waldman, David Joshua Weisenfeld, Edwin David Wolf, Carrie Myers Wotes. And we add the names of those who've been taken from our midst, but not from our hearts, in these most recent days for whom we are observing Shiloshim, the 30 days of mourning. David Dickstein, Samuel Z. Klausner, Joel Tabnick, Doris R. Winney. If you are observing Yahrzeit or Shiloshim for a loved one whose name was not mentioned, I invite you to type their names into the comments or to speak their names aloud at this time. Zichronam livracha, may their memories be a blessing. We turn in our prayer books to page 294 and rise for the mourner's Kaddish. Yitgadal v'yitgadash shemei rabbah, bi'alma divra chirotei v'yamlich malchutei, v'chayechon uv'yomechon uv'chayei dechol beit Yisrael, ba'agala v'zman kariv v'imru, amen. Yehei shemei rabbah mevarach le'alam olmei olmaya, yitbarach v'yishtabach v'yitpa'ar v'yitramam v'yitnaseh, v'yitadar v'yitaleh v'yitalal, shemei dekudisha b'richu, le'ela min kol birchata v'shirata, tushbechata v'nechemata, damiran be'alma v'imru, amen. Yehei shlama rabba min shemaya, v'chayim aleinu v'al kol Yisrael, v'imru, amen. Oseh shalom b'mromav, hu yaseh shalom, aleinu v'al kol Yisrael, v'imru, amen. May the one who creates harmony on high bring peace to all of us, and let us say, amen.
Oseh shalom b'mromav, hu yaseh shalom, aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael, ve'imeru, amen.
We wish you all a Shabbat Shalom. If you are new to the congregation and like to know more, we have the wonderful Stephen Scher here in the back waving, and we'd love it if you'd say hi to him, and he would love to welcome you. And we are going to conclude with a very special closing song, which is found in your service program on page 5.
הרופא לשבורי לב, מחבש לעצבותם, מונה מספר לכוכבים, לכולם שמות יקרא. הרופא לשבורי לב, מחבש לעצבותם, מונה מספר לכוכבים, לכולם שמות יקרא. הללויה, 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 הללויה. healer of the brokenhearted, binder of our wounds, counter of uncountable stars. You know who we are. Healer of the brokenhearted, binder of our wounds, counter of uncountable stars. You know who we are. Hallelujah. 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 Ana Erna Refana La Hallelujah. 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 Hallelujah.
The words of Rabbi Karen Kadar. In this time of uncertainty and fear, do not let me rest. Send me forth that I may restore what is broken, heal what is wounded, and engage in acts of love. With great and unrelenting determination, I shall do something kind and necessary for someone else. May this be my answer to pain.
Yivarechecha Adonai v'yishmerecha Ya'er Adonai Panav eilecha v'chuneka Yisa Adonai Panav eilecha v'yasem lecha Shalom. Yivarechecha Adonai v'yishmerecha Ya'er Adonai panav eilecha v'chuneka Yisa Adonai panav eilecha v'yasem lecha shalom. Yivarechecha Adonai v'yishmerecha.
May God bless us and keep us.
Ya'er Adonai panav eilecha v'chuneka.
May God's light shine upon us, and may God be gracious to us.
Yisa Adonai panav eilecha v'yasem lecha shalom.
May we feel God's presence within us always, and may we be granted God's most precious gift, the gift of peace. Ken Yehi Ratzon, may this be God's will. Shabbat Shalom.
Shabbat.